Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yo, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Brian Hewitt.
And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement. This week we're on location at Reformation Brewery in Woodstock, Georgia. I'm Tim Dennis.
And I'm Brian Hewitt. As you might have guessed, this week we're talking with Reformation Brewery. Co-founder and brewmaster Nick Downs is here with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Reformation, growing, getting bigger, right, Nick?
You sure is, yeah.
We're going to get all the details here soon. But, Brian, another busy week. We did not, unusual for us, we did not party together this weekend.
We did not. We did not party at all.
But I stayed here and took care of the home front. I went down to Three Taverns Brewery. They had their Kush release down there, their new IPA, so enjoyed some of that. Then a nice Saison on there. I haven't had a Saison in a while, and I love that style.
It is the right season for the Saisons.
It is the season for the Saison.
It is the season for Saisons.
Absolutely. And went over to Red Brick, and they had a release there, Tropic Thunder, which was or was it Thunder Thief? I keep getting the two mixed up. Because one is the base beer and one is a milkshake variant. But either way you do it, they were both really good. Enjoyed that a lot. Sat there, had some good beers. I went to Heirloom Market Barbecue. I'd never been there before. Have you been there, Nick, to Heirloom Market?
No.
So
how was it?
It's very good. You know the scoop with Heirloom?
No, I don't.
It's owned by a Korean family.
Okay.
And so and I'm told she was a K-pop star.
Yes.
Before.
No kidding.
So out Red Brick, you hang a right. It's down there on the left.
I think it's a good ways from this. Is at Acres Mill and 285.
Oh.
For you Atlanta folks, Acres Mill and 285.
Yeah, because there's a great Korean barbecue taco place.
Yeah,
not too far.
No,
from...
you're thinking of Hancock, right?
Okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
I have been there.
So Heirloom is just like classic barbecue, but with a little like they had kimchi coleslaw.
Okay.
They had a spicy Korean barbecue chopped pork sandwich in that, and really good stuff, man. So barbecue and beer for me this weekend.
That sounds really good. I was on a steady diet of cigars. I was over in Las Vegas for a convention center, or a trade show at a convention center,
right? For
a trade show.
Okay.
And you might be surprised by this, but the beer scene in the Las Vegas Convention Center isn't very good. It's not much of a beer scene in the convention center itself. There are some breweries around. I didn't get a lot of time to drink a lot of beers in the area, but I did have a good local brown ale, Tenaya Creek Brown Ale, Bonanza Brown, in fact, and I made do with things like Sam Adams 76. And
how's that?
I was good. It was good. It was light. It was nothing too spectacular, but it did the trick. It was nice. I also had the Stone's Ruination Double IPA 2.0. I didn't realize it was on 2.0, and a Belgium Voodoo Ranger Juicy Haze IPA, which I hadn't had yet. A lot of those I hadn't had before because I've been focusing on local craft beer. Sadly, I did not have my Joseph James Citra Rye Pale Ale, which is my favorite beer to drink while I'm there.
I wondered what the significance of that was.
Yeah. I didn't make it over to Total Wine like I expected to, so it sadly it went by the wayside.
All right, Nick, you get any interesting beers this week?
No.
No, none at all.
No,
huh?
No. But I recently I travel quite a bit when I'm not at the brewery, and so I do bring beer back. Pliny the Elder.
Oh,
enjoyed
nice.
a little bit of that.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That qualifies as interesting, right?
It does.
West Veteran 12.
Okay.
I've had a few of those in the last month or so. And I got a buddy that has a brewery in South Africa, and he was just in town, so he dropped a few off for me there, and that's in the queue for this.
What
this
brewery
week.
in South Africa?
It's called Brewhouse in Jeffreys Bay, which is right on the coast of south part of South Africa.
I met a gentleman that owns Afro-Caribbean Brewing in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah?
He was here for some collaborations. I think he came up for CBC.
Oh, really?
And just happened to come through Atlanta. I got talking to him and that, so pretty cool stuff.
This guy married a girl from North Georgia, and that's how we met.
Well, Tim, I think it is time for Truck and Tap's Beers of the Week.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
Well, Brian, we've got a lot of good ones this week. We're going to be sipping Reformation Brews, and right now I am sipping their Nolan the Wanderer, number 2, second in the series. Nick, this is going to be a long series of beers, correct?
Yeah, never ending from what they tell me.
Never
I
ending.
mean, ideally.
Okay.
The beers that never end. They just go on and on, my
Very
friend.
good. And Nick, you mentioned another one we were going to get into a little later that you're cooling down for us right now. What was that?
Yeah, it was our first whack at our anniversary beer. It's Cadence, our Belgian double that we aged in Pinot Noir barrels.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. Sounds
nice.
good. Awesome. Looking forward to that one. Now let's see what's happening in the news.
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines.
Okay, so following the recent news about Deep Ellum, we have Los Angeles-based Three Weavers Brewing Company joining Canarchy. As per usual, the specific details of the deal were not disclosed, but it basically involves trading equity, the breweries for some portion of Canarchy's. So though the transaction is cash-free and debt-free, Canarchy does technically own the brewery now. And the previous owners now own a percentage of Canarchy. Lynn Weaver says joining the Craft Beer Collective will help them weather potential irregularities and economic storms, I think is the word she said, with their continued growth without compromising their quality or their values. They've been growing at a blazing rate of about 90% a year, which is insane, and those capital injections are getting harder and harder to arrange. As a member of Canarchy, the brewery also gets additional resources, brewing capacity, expertise, and all the other stuff that comes with it. So from what I'm seeing, the response to this move has been mixed. It's a little bit of a controversy. Some people are saying that they sold out. Others are saying they disagree, and this is a good move for them. The Brewers Association recognizes Canarchy as the 9th largest craft brewery company in the world in 2017. So they're still, by their definition, technically craft. But
how many are in the Canarchy family now?
Oh boy, it's got to be 8 or 9.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a considerable number. I was going to write them all down, but it's got to be approaching 10.
It keeps
at this
growing.
point. Oh yeah, it's big.
Absolutely.
Well, they just got Deep Ellum, just last month. It's like 2 acquisitions or partnerships in 2 months, basically. The Great American Beer Festival has announced a significant expansion for 2018. The actual physical size of the festival is increasing by 100,000 square feet to 584,000 square feet. The attending breweries will be arranged by alphabetical order. I think that's something that people really wanted because it was confusing the other way. They're also adding collaboration competition and a special booth for collaborations, and I didn't catch the exact number of those collaborations, but there's going to be a considerable number of them. They're expanding the Meet the Brewer section by 40%, which means you're going to be able to see up to like 165 different breweries, just meet the brewers, hang out with them, have a chat. And they're also adding some hangout spots, including a Jameson Caskmates barrel-aged beer garden, where they'll have 17 small independent craft brewery partners that have brewed a beer in limited edition Jameson barrels. So
very cool.
Yeah,
lots of collaborations there.
Yeah,
enough to get its own space, huh?
And I think one of our local breweries here is going to wind up being in that booth, though it's not said. I believe did we not hear that was doing a collaboration with Caskmates?
That's confidential news that we cannot report.
Okay, we won't be reporting that. So, do you need some new tunes for your drinking session? A punk, quote-unquote, power violence supergroup named Trappist, like the beer, has released an album about craft beer. I don't know exactly what power violence is, but the name of the album is Ancient Brewing Tactics, and the first single is called Victims of a Bomber Raid. So they're saying that for those who don't know, a bomber is slang for a 22-ounce bottle of beer. With the state of the world today, the only solution is to drop as many bombers as possible. It's a form of warfare we can truly get behind. Beers, not bombs. And if you're interested in picking that up and listening, August 17th.
Now, this is an appropriate place to talk about the bomber, isn't it, Nick? Because you guys are anti-bomber.
That's right.
Anti-bomber.
Right. That's right.
They're commons?
They're commons here.
Okay. Because bomber's just a little too aggressive, correct?
Yeah. It doesn't
All right.
doesn't match our philosophical approach to
Understandable.
I thought that would be fun for this one.
Yes, it's a good one to talk about. Awesome. Well, we need to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a moment to talk with Reformation Brewing. The Old 320 Beer Fest returns to Max Lagers in Atlanta, Georgia on July 21st, 2018. Attendees can enjoy unlimited beer samples from over 30 of the best southern breweries, an orphan bottle share, a chef's tasting room with gourmet bites from brewed to serve chefs, and live entertainment from Grateful Dude and Friends. Plus, enter the raffle for a chance to win an ultimate beer tour of Belgium and Germany with Brewtopia events. Find the Old 320 Beer Fest on Facebook or Fresh Tix for more info or to purchase your tickets now.
Craft beer forged with a reverence for tradition and new styles that start a revolution. Ironmonger Brewing. The brewers at Ironmonger Brewing pride themselves at being masters of barrel-aged, hoppy, and sour beers. They invite you to their tap room in Marietta, Georgia to taste and see. Also visit their barrel room for an intimate drinking experience with great live entertainment. Keep up to date on all things Ironmonger by liking them on Facebook. Ironmonger Brewing, establishing a new standard in craft beer.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
What in tarnation?
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. For more great craft beer info, visit us on the web at beerguysradio.com. We're at Reformation Brewery in Woodstock, Georgia today, talking with Nick Downs.
Nick, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
Good, man. Good. So we just refilled our beers here. You brought us some beers. Thank you for that. So
You're very welcome.
What are we sipping on now?
This is our Saison that we've done, I think, the last 2, maybe 3 springs. We call it Sabine.
Sabine, the Saison.
Sabine, the
French Saison?
Uh-huh.
Good stuff. Good
Tis
stuff.
the season for Saisons.
It is the season
Yes.
for Saisons. I think that's a song, isn't it?
I believe so.
Okay, good
It comes
stuff.
out every July 18th,
Okay,
I think.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
I thought it was a
Okay, good.
Christmas carol. No?
It could be both. Why not both,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely.
Saisons in December.
So, Nick, we kind of know your story. We've talked in the past, but what got you into craft beer and led you to opening a brewery?
Oh, well, I in real life, as I like to say, I am a pilot. And I used to fly to Western Europe mainly, Belgium, Germany. And, I was sitting in the ground plots in Belgium one day, and there was not a cloud in the sky, which doesn't happen often in Europe. And I had 3 or 4 beers, and I thought, wow, this is awesome. And so I started bringing, I went specifically to a beer store down the road and got a few beers and brought them back. And an old buddy of mine, Spencer Nix, we drank them, and we solved the world's problems. And every time I went back to Europe, I would grab a few more beers, and we'd drink a few more beers and solve a few more problems. And one thing led to another, and I changed airplanes, and I started going to Lagos, Nigeria, where there's no craft beer, and Narita, Japan, and places where there was just a dearth of good beer.
Not Europe.
Not
right?
Europe, yeah.
Right.
So we said, let's make our own beer. And we did. And we made way more than the 2 of us could drink. So we invited a few guys over one Friday night. It was the 3rd Friday of the month, and it became brew night. And it went for 3 years, and it went from 6 people the first day to well over 100 on numerous occasions over the years. And the brewery just kind of grew out of that.
I've heard a similar story to that from a number of people where we started brewing, but we were brewing way too much beer. We couldn't handle it, started inviting people over, and it just grows and grows. And it's like, well, I guess we have to open a brewery now.
I mean, you get to be that size. You got 100 people there. You're like,
Yeah.
we've got something. Maybe we should do something with
That's
this.
right, yeah.
Absolutely.
I have too much free time and too much spending money, so let's open a brewery.
And at that time, here in Georgia, you were super limited on what you could get here, correct?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the ABV cap was
Well, no,
six?
it was after that.
Was it? Okay.
This was 10 years ago,
Okay.
so it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was after that.
A little bit of freedom here, then,
Yeah.
right?
But you still didn't have a lot of the stuff in there. So about 10 months ago, you announced you had plans to open a second facility here in Woodstock. How is that going along? Where are you at with that?
We are probably 3 or 4 weeks from opening.
Okay.
It's going pretty good. On the regulatory side, we've moved along fairly well, and the construction, the typical delays, but we're looking at late August to open up.
Now, the new space, and Nick, you and I walked through there before the taping today. I got a look at it. A lot of big plans with it, different tasting areas, different levels to it, some cool stuff going on. I'm sure with that big space there, you won't have 2 tasting rooms, correct?
No, our current tasting room will eventually be taken over with more tanks, but in the interim, we'll do some private events where people are always asking, can we do a wedding reception or a bachelor party or a high school reunion? And we have to say no because, it's open Wednesday through Sunday. So
Right.
so we'll leave this place now for some private events. But the next set of tanks that come, it'll be over then.
So this will be mostly production facility.
Production, yeah. We already spill over, and at the conclusion of every day, we have to get all of our stuff out so we can open up because we're really it's tight.
Oh wow! I had no idea it was that tight. I guess that's a good issue to have.
It is, yeah.
So you have a big space with a lot of things going on. What can visitors to the new place expect to experience once they get there?
Well, they can expect a good variety of beers. We'll be able to have as many as 32 different beers on tap. Our current system, we have a mash filter. It doesn't really lend itself well to small batches, so we've always kind of struggled with doing one-offs. So that'll be a thing of the past now. We have a little 5-barrel system coming and 5-barrel fermenters. So a lot of new, exciting beers. Not necessarily the same old, but so they can look forward to that.
So Nick, another thing you're doing at the new brewery that's kind of cool is you've partnered with a restaurant to be kind of food service at your brewery. Right. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we spent a little time looking for somebody to partner with, somebody that shared our same values, somebody was good at what they did, and because we're not restaurant guys, and it's hard enough being successful doing one thing, but doing two things makes it twice as hard. So we found a guy, Zach Kell, who started Queenie's up in Canton, also Going Coastal. He's going to be a food partner. We're essentially subleasing a section of the building to him, and he's going to have counter service. You can walk up, and we think this will be a great partnership.
Beer and barbecue, right?
Yeah. So I can't really speak about the menu because I don't know, but I imagine it'll be a rotating menu.
Leave that alone as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just let them do their thing, right?
And I'll eat there a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. That's a good idea. Specialize in what you specialize. Let an expert in another thing handle the food. If they're good at the food, let them handle it.
Well, we saw that over in Huntsville when we went over there at Yellowhammer. There's the Brick Oven Pizzeria in Yellowhammer is not Yellowhammer. So I'm curious to see if more people take advantage of that, because I've heard a lot of brewers say the same thing as you, Nick. We're brewers.
Yeah.
We don't want to be restaurant owners, but with the changing climate here, having some food available is going to be a nice thing. So that seems to be
people linger a
cool way to do
little bit longer in the tasting room, we think.
It's like an expansion of the food truck system, except
it is, yeah.
They're now permanent. You don't have to wait for them to show up. They're there and they're cooking. That's a good idea. So you host a lot of events at the brewery, trivia nights, game nights, stand-up comedy. Why are these events important to your brewery?
Well, we talked about a minute ago how it was a social event. Brewing's always been social. For the first 5 years, I never brewed without 15 to 100 people there. So these events are that same thing. Like just tonight, I ran into a guy that was a brew night guy that used to come to my house the third Friday for years. So all these events bring the community together, and we like being the Woodstock Brewery. We like the community and bringing them in and getting to know people.
That's cool. I mean, you want to give people already have a reason to come here, but just a little extra something to spice it up, make it a little different. A little comedy, a little little games, whatever, that sort of thing. It's
bring
a good
the
idea.
kids.
Yeah.
It's a very family friendly brewery here, which those that know me know that I love family friendly breweries.
Yeah, yes, you do.
Nothing I love more at a brewery than a bunch of kids.
That's right. He loves it. But at the same time, that does well against the image of the hardened drunks passed out at the bar with a shot and a beer next to them.
And I think that's what I've heard from a lot of the breweries. It's like, you bring your kids out, let them see you can go out and have a beer, do it responsibly. It doesn't have to be just getting hammered drunk all the time.
And people behave better when there's a kid at the next booth,
kids there.
So we do stave off some problems.
I think Tim behaves worse. I'm not sure.
I do.
This, but.
They're asking for it. They're asking for it. Nick, something I want to touch on, and we may not have a lot of time to get in this, but your faith is a big part of Reformation, and actually in the name Reformation Brewery, it's kind of inspired by the Protestant Reformation, correct?
Yeah.
Why is that something that you brought those together? How do those intermingle for you?
Well, both Spencer and I have been to seminary, and we both had we spent some time in ministry. There's a lot of people that beer is totally verboten, right? It's you can't do it. 0 is the maximum number of beers you can have in a day, and Martin Luther set out not to change things, but to reform some things, to change the culture. And so we've set out for that same thing. It's our faith is who we are. It's the way we interact with people. It's the way we do business. It's just, it's the way I drive. It's the way I fly an airplane. It's me, right? It's the way I parent, and it's the way I brew. try to do my best all the time. And so we set out to set beer free is a tagline that we use to redeem beer culture, because it goes from drinking beer from a funnel to you can't have one at all, and somewhere in the middle there's a happy medium,
a balance, a little balance in that.
So
right?
that's what we set out to do. It was a little tongue in cheek, maybe a bit of a elbow to some folks, but overall it was, hey, it's okay. It's okay if you do it in moderation.
Excellent. Well, you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take a quick break, but we'll be back, and we've got a story to tell about Martin Luther and beer right after this.
If you love wild, sour, and barrel-aged beers, be sure to check out the amazing offerings from Sweetwater's Woodlands, the Atlanta Brewery's barrel-aging facility. For the serious craft beer fan, the Woodland Circle Beer Club offers members 6 unique exclusive bottles plus other great perks. Series 2 is starting soon with more creative offerings from Cellarman Nick B. Visit the Woodlands in Atlanta, Georgia, follow Sweetwater Brew on social media, or get more information and sign up at sweetwaterbrew.com/club. That's sweetwaterbrew.com/club.
We are Reformation Brewery, celebrating the reformer in you. Locally crafted within the renowned Etowah watershed of Woodstock, Georgia, Reformation creates yeast-forward brews full of aroma and flavor crafted to last. Come see us in beautiful Woodstock, Georgia, for a tour and tasting of unique brews that you can't find anywhere else. Reformation Brewery, set beer free. ReformationBrewery.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. I want to give a quick shout out to one of our great radio affiliates, a new radio affiliate.
New affiliate. Awesome.
KCPX 1490 AM in Moab, Utah. Catch Beer Guys Radio every Sunday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on KCPX. We're on location at Reformation Brewery talking with Nick Downs.
Nick, we're going to talk to you more in just a minute. We've got some stuff to out. We're going to do something a little different this week. Brian just got back, as he mentioned in the first segment, from Las Vegas, Nevada. Lost wages, as they say, Brian.
Yes.
And went to the cigar show out there, and we know that some of our followers are cigar smokers. Why don't you take a couple minutes and tell us what's new and coming in the world of cigars?
It's funny because I did a lot of interviews there, probably well over 40, and that was really my question to them. It's like, what's new? What did you bring to the show? It reminds me every time I go there that while legislation is getting easier, the markets are getting easier, everything is getting easier gradually for beer. It's getting harder for tobacco, and that's always something that's on the minds of people. But despite that, there was a lot of new product out there. You've got your Tatawahe 15th anniversary, and I believe it's the last in the series of monsters called the Bride. So those are really sought after by the cigar geeks.
Is Tatawahe 15 years old
yes.
now?
Yes.
Wow.
It's
That's
crazy,
something.
right?
It is, yes.
Pete, it's amazing to think of Pete, because I always thought of it as the young, hip guy. He's got more gray than me.
Is he still hip?
He's still hip.
Okay.
He's still really,
right.
really hip, but he's got more gray than me, and that's saying something. So there's tons of stuff from Drew Estate, people that are big fans of them. They have a huge following. They've got an anniversario there. I believe it's a Liga Privada 10th anniversary. They've got a Liga Privada H99 Connecticut Corojo and a new Herrera Esteli Maduro, a ton of tins. They've got Steve Saka with his Dunbarton Sin Compromiso. That means without compromises. Okay. New product. People are buzzing about that. A story that I really like, J.C. Newman came out with, Drew Newman from J.C. Newman came out with a cigar called The American. It uses Florida sun-grown tobacco as a wrapper. Every other component of it is American. It's rolled in America. Everything about it's American. It's called The American. It's coming out soon. Very cool story.
I'd be interested to try that, just because. Are there any other all-American cigars? I mean, I know we've got, we talked, Nick, a little bit about Connecticut wrappers and that growing up there, but I don't know of any that have been all American?
That's a good question, and I can't think of any. I mean, there's such a small selection of premium cigar tobacco from the U.S. It's difficult to put it together, but that has like the Pennsylvania leaf. It's got the Connecticut leaf in it. It's got the Florida sun-grown. It's possible now these days, but it's a challenge. It's a good story. It's very cool.
Good stuff. Some nice stuff to look out for there, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Good. Well, Nick, I had a question that I thought about when we were on break. We talked a little bit about your faith and your brewing. Have you received any criticisms? I'm sure you have, but from either side, from either the religious or non-religious folks, about mixing the two.
Yes.
Okay.
We certainly
yes.
have. Yeah.
Right.
Especially when we first got started. Yeah. There's a big Christian author, John MacArthur, out in San Diego. Written many books, many of which I've read, and I've enjoyed every one of them. But he did a blog one day about restless and reformed is what he referred to these group of people, and he threw us in there. And then there's Reformation Brewery out there in Georgia doing this and this, and it was funny. We joked about maybe naming a beer after him, but we've not done that yet. But we did see the hits on our website really spike.
I was going to say some good press there, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've also seen some people that we were shocked that thought, gave us the thumbs up. You guys, we appreciate what you're doing and why you're doing it, and so but we have gotten thrown under the bus a number of times.
Because, I mean, the anti-alcohol religious movement is fairly modern, I guess. I don't know how to quantify that.
Prohibition started from a religious movement.
Right.
So it's not new.
But if we look back, I mean, new in the term of historically, if we go back hundreds of years, the Catholics brewed, the Protestants brewed, monks brewed, other ancient civilizations and religions brewed. As a matter of fact, I've got a great story to tie in to that. Nick, Martin Luther, did you know that he was a big proponent of brewing with hops?
I did not know that.
Yeah, and he actually helped promote that because at the time of the Reformation and such, the Catholic Church was a big proponent of Groot, brewing with a mixture of herbs and botanicals. And they thought hops were bad for you. And we must have a lot of Catholics on Reddit, on the ATL beer forum, because they love their Groots there.
They do love their Groots, yes.
So, but a German mystic and abbess had said that hops were bad for you, and they would make the soul of a man sad and weigh down his inner organs. So the Catholic Church was opposed to hops. Hops were not taxed, so as an act of rebellion, Martin Luther encouraged Protestants to brew with hops. So all these nice hoppy IPAs and that, we have him partially to thank for the
proliferation.
Hold on, I'm going to try this once more. For the proliferation of hops.
Yeah, another unintended consequence.
So shout out, Martin Luther. We appreciate that. Good stuff.
Well, that one guy might have been right, weighing down the inner organs. I feel like a lot of me has been weighed down by
You sure that's
consumption.
the hops?
I'm blaming the hops. The hops are... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that has to be the hops. It could not be any other of my other lifestyle choices.
Could be the 430 ounces of actual beer, right?
No. That's basically water.
Wicked and pernicious weeds, isn't it?
Wicked and pernicious weed, indeed.
So, Nick, you're coming up on an anniversary here, a few months, I guess, right?
Yeah, number 5.
Number 5, the 5th anniversary. We were talking before we got on the air here. I remember going over when you had a little, was it one barrel that
we
you started
on a one barrel?
Yeah. Very cool stuff. Awesome. So, growing up to your second brewery, you've grown the brew house here. Anything big and exciting planned for the 5th anniversary?
Yeah, we do have we'll be in the new space for the new anniversary, which we're pretty excited about. And we do have a special beer that we have in the queue. We're going to do a barrel-aged version of our Belgian Double Cadence. It's in Pinot Noir barrels. We have an early version of that I think we're going to try in a little while. But
awesome.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. It was on October 31st is our anniversary, which is Reformation Day, not just Halloween, but it's the day Martin Luther got the whole ball rolling.
That sounds pretty intentional. That's your anniversary.
It was.
Right?
Matter of fact, it was. Just a quick story. I flew that day. I came back from Tokyo and landed, drove up to Woodstock from Hartsfield, and we brewed that night so that we could get it in on October 31st.
Have to make sure you could technically say it. Yeah. Good call.
That sounds like a long day.
Oh, it was brutal.
Yeah.
We're brewing. He's napping over there, but we are brewing.
He's here. Absolutely.
Craft beer growth has slowed, and we're seeing a lot of breweries still open with all the choices that consumers have before them right now, and they're opting for more local things. Has that changing climate impacted any of your future plans for Reformation? Have you altered anything?
Well, I think our Woodstock location is an answer to that. With SB 85 that came into play back in September, it did change the revenue model a little bit. So no longer do you have to be in some end of the industrial park warehouse to be able to afford the square footage you need. So we moved into Woodstock. So we are even more local than we were before. Currently our current location, you either have to blunder on it or you have to know it's here. But we'll be right in downtown Woodstock, and so that changing climate, I think, really has the early breweries like us that had to get big fast because the margins were so small that you needed to be able to distribute as much as possible. Now we're seeing that, hey, there's some new opportunities for us.
I think that's important, to change there, because we know of a couple other breweries that had some growth, but they're not in ideal locations. With the growing market, more breweries open up out there, more options. It's a changing environment. You need that foot traffic. You need people to be able to walk in and enjoy a beer at your brewery. Yeah. Definitely.
Sure. In Georgia, local is still Georgia, but you go out to the West Coast, local is, they're past that street? Well, that's not
local.
Not
neighborhood
anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not quite that bad yet.
Good stuff. Soon. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We need to take another break, but we'll be back very soon to talk more with Nick Downs of Reformation Brewery. It's Brian and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in Downtown Woodstock and Alpharetta are always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy, Brian. They've got 18 of them.
As for the truck part, that's where it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily, so that way you're getting a different menu every day.
Truck and Tap in Downtown Woodstock, Alpharetta, and coming soon to Duluth in 2018. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Are you thinking about opening a brewery in the Atlanta area? If so, take a look at the Park at Georgetown. This unique community will feature a collection of restaurants as well as a craft brewery located within the new JW Homes luxury development, Dunwoody Green. Conveniently located less than half a mile from I-285, this enclave of restaurants will be the gathering place in Dunwoody. Trim & Associates, the developer of the Park at Georgetown, wants to talk to you. For more information, call Stephen St. Paul at 404-256-2960, extension 5. That's 404-256-2960, extension 5.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Make sure to follow us on the socials. Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at Reformation Brewery in Woodstock, Georgia, talking with brewmaster and co-founder Nick Downs.
Nick, you just opened a very special beer for us here. Just pulled it out of the freezer. It sat there. It's nice and cold for us, isn't it?
A little too cold, isn't it?
So, but that's fun. You let it change and warm and see what goes on. So tell us about this beer, please.
Well, it's going to be our anniversary beer. At least that's the current plan. It's our double cadence that we aged in Pinot Noir barrels, and then we blended it to taste and bottle conditioned it. And so we've got about 10 or 12 wine barrels that we have cadence aging in. It's probably been in there maybe 6 months now. And so sometime early in September, late in August, depending on what's going on, we'll pull it and put it in a tank and blend it and add some sugar and yeast, and we'll bottle condition it. We keg condition it too. So we have a few accounts that'll probably get the anniversary beer too, and it's all bottle and keg conditioned.
I get a nice barrel note from it.
Yeah.
I've been holding it here in my palm a little bit to warm it up some.
Yeah.
As you get a little bit of that chill knocked off of it, those flavors really open up.
It was a slushy when we poured it, wasn't it?
It was a little slushy there. But we know, if you listen to the show, you know that beer slushies are all the rage now.
They are. There's some really nice wine notes coming out of it
there
right
is.
now.
Nice
which you would expect.
Barrel.
Yeah.
Maybe you could put this in a slushy machine
over
there. So It's a nice barrel-aged slushy beer.
That might work. Yeah, that'd be fun.
I mean, don't know. Does the state have anything to say about slushies and beers? I don't know.
There's actually, we talked to Savannah's Two Tides Brewing last week, and they have a gas station slushy machine, and he said they take their beers like they took their kettle sour, and pre-carbonation, they slush it up.
Do they really?
Yeah. Sure enough, they go for it. So over there in the heat of the coast, and a nice like slushy beer.
A Randall Plus.
It is.
Kind of, yeah. You could add adjuncts to it. Yeah. I was thinking glitter because...
Glitter.
I mean, he wouldn't do it, but it's not saying you couldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it.
I don't think it's been done here.
Yeah, and it won't.
You have the greatest, worst ideas,
I do.
Brian,
I do. I love sharing them and looking at people's faces.
The seafood goza.
Yes, the seafood goza.
Which still, no matter who you pitch that to, no one's bought into it yet.
I love the responses I get. I've never seen people's faces pinch in disgust as much.
The cringe.
Yes, that cringe.
The recoil.
When I mentioned my seafood goza idea.
Good stuff. Well, Nick, what do you think of the idea of a seafood goza? Is that on the upcoming schedule for Reformation?
No.
Definitely not.
Probably
That's the hard
no. We're just not close enough to the ocean to get good
That's
seafood.
A good point.
That is a really good point. So I tell you what, I'll let you use my idea for a tomato basil saison. You could use that if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay.
So he's on board for that. All right, let's do it.
Well, Nick, we talked a little bit before the last break about kind of the changing climate of beer.
Yeah.
That. We know people are going after local, and the definition of local changes depending on where you are. It continues to change as more breweries open in more areas. What do you envision? What is your desire for Reformation, kind of the long game or the end game? Where would you like to see Reformation go?
We want to be the local brewery, and I think we're shooting for like the North Georgia local brewery. With the latest beer we have is Nolan. It's Nolan the Wanderer, and it's co-branded with Wander North Georgia. They're a lifestyle brand, hiking, mountain biking, and it fits well with us. Both Spencer and I like the outdoors, camping and mountain biking, and it seemed like a good way to be the local North Georgia beer.
I was going to say, tell me more about that partnership. I'm curious about that. That Nolan the Wanderer, you have that partnership. What does that do? What are you doing with that?
The very basic, it's co-branded, right?
Okay.
They have their logo on our cans, and they sell it in their store, and I'm not sure what you're asking, but...
Neither is he, so that's fine.
Yeah,
so.
I rarely am.
Is it meant to promote a cause or something, or is it just
There's no cause.
Folks getting together?
It's just the great outdoors, right?
Okay, there you go.
I'm going to retire in 12 years from flying, and first thing my wife and I were going to do is hike the AT.
So that's promoting something.
Yeah.
Promoting the great outdoors. That's a good cause.
And let's face it, Georgia has some of the best mountain biking, some of the best hiking trails there are, so why not?
Are you going to have some Nolan with you when you hike the AT there?
Oddly, we brought some Nolan out to the AT and did some trail magic one afternoon.
Okay.
And, a guy that's been hiking 7 or 8 days and hasn't showered or had a decent meal, when you show up with a cold IPA, there are some pretty excited guys on that trail.
There.
Yeah,
yes. Nearly weeping with excitement.
Sounds like a very fragrant meeting.
Yeah.
There, so.
we were upwind, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Good
a
stuff.
lot of aroma additions.
So another beer that you brewed recently is Alani.
Right.
Alani was a rosé ale, and rosé is just so hot right now. The wine, there's a rosé cider, at least one rosé cider out there. So what brought Alani up? What made you decide to do a rosé ale?
It was really a Prosecco wine that was the inspiration for it. So we decided to do something well outside our wheelhouse, and we did it with both malt and a little bit of grape must and some cranberry and apple and a little bit of hibiscus flowers. Instead of dry hopping, we used a fair amount of hibiscus in there and gave it a little bit of a sour note. And something else we tried, which we hadn't done before, is we carved it as normal, but we added a little sugar and a little yeast and let it can condition to try to get it up. Our canning line can't really can very well above about 2.7, but we wanted it closer to 3 volumes. We think it turned out pretty good. Actually, it was the only seasonal that we've ever done twice. So it sold out very quickly, and normally we do about 70 barrels of a seasonal. We ended up doing about 140 or so, that one.
Talking about the carb level on that, that's something. Talking about Nolan, to jump back to that, if I heard you correct, the next version of that is going to be a Brut IPA inspired.
Brutish, yeah.
Brutish. It will be a brutish IPA, and I know, from the little I know about the brewed IPA style, Brian, because I'm no expert on that style, is that it's highly carbonated.
It is.
It's a very effervescent. And I was talking to another brewer last week that said that is the issue with trying to package and distribute that beer is the packaging just won't really support those high levels of carbonation to get a fresh IPA out to market.
So there's going to be compromises, and carbonation level is probably one of them. But because we did Alani, it's something we think we might be able to pull off with this too.
Okay.
If you put it in a can, either that or you're going with the 375 cork and cage avenue, and that seems like a tremendous amount of work for something like that people.
Yeah,
that's not for a crushable beer. That's for a
and it's going to go in a can, and we have 500,000 of them, so we're not going to put them in a bottle too with a cork and a cage.
There you go. Right. It's a lot of work, right?
So I saw your advertising campaign for Alani saying that yes, you can dance. Can you dance, and are you telling us that we can? Because I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, I haven't seen you guys dance. But, I can't really dance either.
No, see,
after
not
a few
going to
beers,
call
though.
us out on it, right?
After a few beers.
Have a few
I dance all
Alanis,
right.
then kick back and have a good time with it.
But there was
right?
a video with one of our brewers that actually put on the pink tutu and danced. It was Paul. He was a good sport.
So I've also seen that Jude Mimosas mentioned on your social media accounts. Have you experimented with any other kind of beer cocktail type of things, or is it kind of more of a Jude Mimosa place?
No, I think a lot of our bartenders on Sunday they have some freedom to do some of that, and there's a few cocktails that they've come up with. But Jude Mimosas are the ones that seem to be the most popular.
I've seen there's a couple breweries here that kind of do a bar with their sours. And they'll have infusions or syrups or different things that you can do. And with like a Berliner. Get a Berliner with a Mitschuss.
Mitschuss, yes.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of that. The beer can get creative with it, put something in there.
Yeah.
I've had a painkiller variant and stuff. Brian's giving me a funny look.
Yeah, I'm worried.
I'm going to keep talking because I don't know if I want to let him go with this.
I'm thinking about a Bloody Mary bar for beer.
Yeah.
Like where you just add additives to the
tomato
beer.
basil maybe.
Just go
Tomato basil.
Tomato basil. Sun-dried tomatoes, basil.
He's going to get pickles in his, I just know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So,
Olives, pickles,
That's
like little chunks of garlic.
And this is why you do a radio show and not brew, Brian.
This is why I'm not a brewer.
Nick, what's coming up next, man? What should people keep an eye out for from Reformation Brewing?
Well, we got the grand opening that'll take place late in August here in Woodstock. We have the new Nolan coming up. It's actually just been released in the last maybe a week or so. And a few things I probably can't mention on the radio because you guys have already proven that I can't trust
Brian's,
you.
he'll tell. He'll tell.
I will tell everyone your darkest secrets. And make a few up.
Yes, absolutely. Brian, can you keep a secret? No, not at
I
all.
can't. I'm sorry.
Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us, telling us about Reformation, sharing your beer. We really appreciate it. If you want to keep up with all that's going on at Reformation Brewery in Woodstock, Georgia, just go to their website at reformationbrewery.com or follow them on the socials, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And make sure to check out their new location opening in downtown Woodstock, Georgia, August 24th. Nick, is the target, the goal?
Yeah, there's a lot of government regulation involved with that. So,
well, that about wraps it up for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to join us next week when we're going to be talking to Alabama's Common Bond Brewing. Remember to subscribe to Beer Guys Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And please make sure to leave us a review. It helps us out a lot. If you really enjoy the show, consider supporting us on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/beerguys. You can support us for as little as $1, Brian.
What?
And it helps us out a lot, and you get cool stuff. Swag, early access to shows, all kinds of good stuff. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great week, and don't forget to drink local. Cheers.